what is happening.
Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, News Director Brian Houseworth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you.
Get ready, pal. And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
Often will complain about Republicans who will say one thing about Donald Trump off the air and another on air. Well, let me just say, Democrats off the air will say Joe Biden's too old. Why is he running? On the air, they won't say that. My question, of course, Willie, is who can do a better job as president as Joe Biden? Who can beat Donald Trump? I don't see a lot of Democrats out there. I don't see any Democrats out there right now that could do that.
All right, I know it's only 6:09, but we need the C word here. Some context to that. It's Joe Scarborough from MSNBC. He's saying on set, listen, everybody's going on TV and saying, Joe Biden, he's fine, he's capable and all this. And when they're in the studio in commercial breaks, kind of like we do sometimes here, Steph, people, the guests start talking for real. And he's what Joe Scarborough on the leftist MSNBC network is saying. He's saying they're Democrats are telling me left and right without fail to a T. Almost every single one of them are saying, yeah, God, please don't let Joe Biden run.
And it's even getting around to Republicans. Didn't we hear from Congressman Luke DeMeyer that he was hearing that as he was around on the Hill, and that people in Joe Biden's own party are saying he's just too old, and the American people agree.
Yep, they know it. And now there's new poll numbers that show, and here's what I'm loving, poll numbers for what they are worth. They are consistently starting to show Trump beating Biden, but this poll we're going to be looking at has to do with the economy. Also coming up, the soap opera that is unfolding on the House floor in Washington, D.C. Another local law enforcement officer could soon be in trouble. We'll have that regulating AI. Elon Musk was asked yesterday by a reporter, do you think AI is going to kill us all? He had an interesting answer. We're going to do that at 7:35. Also, gubernatorial candidate Mike Kehoe is calling in 7:10. Going to check in on his gubernatorial campaign. Of course, he's also the lieutenant governor. Some of the things coming up on the show for you this morning. So this thing unfolding on the House floor yesterday, we're going to get to that. But first, new polling numbers from USA Today and the Suffolk University Sawyer Business School. 34% said they approve of Biden's handling of the economy. 59% disapprove. But here's where it starts to get interesting. And this is what I'm liking about the polling, again, for what it's worth. We have seen several polls now in a row where Trump is neck and neck with Biden. Trump is leading Biden. But check this out. When it comes, I feel like this is the understatement of the year. But people are getting it. Americans said they trust Trump more on the economy than Joe Biden. Biggest thing on everybody's mind right now, probably?
Gas prices?
Gas prices.
Oh, yeah. Welcome home, Steph.
Yeah, welcome home.
Gas prices went way up while you were gone.
I didn't do any driving in 10 days, and it was quite lovely. I think I saved a couple $100.
That's awesome. One way to save on gas prices, go to Europe. Go to Europe for a couple of weeks. I'm not going to have to buy gas here in mid-Mo.
$5 a liter over there.
My goodness, $3.69 a gallon that I'm seeing here in mid-Missouri in most places. Independent voters on the economy, and this is always, I always go to independent voters. Democrats have their voters, Republicans have their voters. I don't think there's much wiggle room in there. It's the independent voters. It's people who vote candidates. 46%, 46-26 spread for Trump, in favor of Trump handling the economy. 84% of Americans say the cost of living is rising, food and groceries, top concern. Results come as Biden is touting Bidenomics. What is he doing today?
Apparently giving a speech on economics.
Yeah, and we will get some inflation numbers this morning, probably around 8 o'clock. I know the Consumer Price Index came out, but you know, what's interesting about that poll to me is, Branden, that that President Biden's numbers are as high as they are with the economy. But you know, he's we say it again, not our listening audience. He is going to be tough to beat, and I do believe he will be the nominee. But it will probably boil down, like you said, to probably 3 or 4 swing states and the independent voters as well. But I also think those numbers, whatever they're saying, Trump, those numbers are going to be low. The Republicans that get called on the phone, a lot of times, they don't trust the pollsters. They don't want to tell them. So probably can at least give that another 2 or 3 points.
So, and there was a hurricane recently.
Well, that's true.
Well, Nick Morris said I would have got the presidential election right, but see, Mr. Marsh, there was the hurricane, and it just screwed
That's
everything.
true.
Phone lines were down.
Phone lines were down. Couldn't get a hold of anybody. That's why I got that one wrong. Marsh, are you sensing, at least in the polling, because now we've seen, at least for 2 weeks, we have consistently seen, and this one from USA Today is mirroring the other polls. Do you get that sense that we're starting to see this on a consistent basis?
I think so. I think Biden has his supporters out there, win, lose, or draw.
Yeah, and that's stunning to me. It's like it's not even about Biden. I mean, we're watching this guy, all right, in real time on TV on a daily basis just fall apart. He's losing it. Now, if that was your grandpa, wouldn't you go to somebody's, hey, Stephanie, I don't think grandpa's doing well. We got to do something. Or, hey, this guy at work, he's getting old and he's losing it. Somebody's got to do something. And apparently these conversations aren't happening. And this guy, we're watching it. And I'm not saying that just as a talking point. You can go and watch videos from his campaign back in 2020. You can watch when he goes and talks about how good the economy is today. You can see him. He's just falling apart.
Or maybe those conversations are happening behind the scenes and they're saying, look, he's not doing so well. And you tell me, you look at me and you say, what is our other option? Because they look over at Kamala and they're like, that's not a great, what can we, they're kind of stuck.
And if you look at the tapes, Brandon's mentioned, you bring up a very good point, because she didn't do very well in the Democratic primary when she ran for president. But when Vice President Biden, I believe twice, came to Jefferson City in 2008 and not, well, one, he was running, and then he definitely came as vice president. It's now Hitachi, used to be Westinghouse. He sounded very alert. He was on the ball. A lot of people actually said he should have been the people at that area, that they felt like he should have been the president. He was very informed. He was very popular in mid-Missouri in that primary.
Yeah, and I mean, seriously though, with the health issue, I think the most important thing, if you've dealt with this in your own life, and I'm not a health professional, but my understanding is you got to get in and get a baseline, because part of it is how fast is someone deteriorating, because it can happen really slowly over time, or it can happen pretty quickly. And so getting in and having folks around you who say, hey, we need to get this checked because, is he still going to be okay in 4 years? I think, Brandon, you said from watching him, like the last year has been particularly hard on him. And then you draw that chart, and 4 years from now, I mean, we think we're in a bad spot now, but
put it in writing. So in other words, look at a chart and watch the videos in effect. Put it down, see it, watch from 2020, watch to 2023. And Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi asked about Kamala Harris. Is she
This was brutal.
Wow. She was asked about Kamala Harris being a running mate for Joe.
Kamala Harris, the best running mate for this president?
He thinks so, and that's what matters. And by the way...
You think so?
You catch that, Hannah?
Yeah.
All right, there's more.
She's very politically astute. I don't think people give her enough credit.
Do you think she is the best running mate, though?
She's the vice president of the United States. So when people say to me, well, why isn't she doing this or that? I said, because she's the vice president. That's the job description. You don't do that much.
And I
Man.
with all that's a very powerful quote, but I will tell you, she is historically not accurate on that. He's historically not accurate. And we saw when President Obama specifically was president, he tasked, and I would also say President Clinton, Clinton tasked Gore to do a lot, and so did President Obama. Vice President Biden was very involved in day-to-day stuff. He was involved in the auto industry after the meltdown in 2008. So
because he used to work in the auto industry. Remember, he drove trucks for General Motors.
But he did. But the point, I'm not sure when she's saying what she's saying there. It used to be vice presidents generally attended funerals overseas. And
Kamala has done a lot. I mean, look at what Biden put her in charge of the border, and look at all the work she's done there.
It sounds like a mean mother-in-law. Like when parents meet, like, their son's girlfriend for the first time, and someone asks the mom, what do you think about your son's new girlfriend? She seems like a really great gal. And the mother-in-law just goes, he thinks so.
Wow.
So 2 big takeaways this morning. Polling again, this from USA Today, John, showing that Trump has a really good shot against Biden. And the economic factor, we know that. The other big story, Joe Scarborough, yesterday on MSNBC saying, yeah, Democrats are telling me privately Joe's got to go. Also yesterday, Washington Post, liberal publication in Washington, D.C. People all across the country pay attention to this. They're in the heartbeat of American politics. Washington Post writer was on MSNBC yesterday talking about his article saying Joe Biden should not run. And this is somebody who's basically supported Biden in the past. He's like, yeah, he shouldn't run.
Now, you're always bragging how you were on the Trump train very early, so I'm ready for you to lay down a bet about who the nominee is going to be. Are you prepared
in the
yet?
Republican Party or Democrat Party?
Democrat. Do you think it's you?
Newsom.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we clip that for later.
Well, and I'm going. We can. Well, I can't as news director, but we can do a friendly.
We can do it during the commercial break.
A friendly CC nice steak over there. I do believe it will be. I believe it will be President Biden. I not only believe it will be President Biden. I'm going to say he will be tough to beat. Morning Joe or whatever, and Meek on that show notwithstanding, I mean, there are the Democrats are going to vote for the Democratic candidate, and I think it'll be him no matter what. And, it all depends on the Electoral College, but I do believe he'll be the nominee.
John, are you jumping in on that wager?
Yeah, I'm right there with Brian. I think the sitting president will be the nominee, and I also think he is hard to beat.
Yep, absolutely.
My ears must be funny this morning. You sound different, John.
Yeah. Screamed a little too much at the soccer game.
Welcome to the show. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. We're going to cover the soap opera that's unfolding on the House floor as it relates to McCarthy and Matt Gaetz, the representative from Florida, and then what's happening with impeachment, things like that. Anybody want to take a gander as to who this is singing?
Even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love with you, honey.
I'm going to say Morgan Wallen. That's who I think it is.
That is not
That sounds
Morgan.
nothing like Morgan Wallen.
Is
that just the only country guy that you could think of?
Yeah. And Luke Holmes.
No.
Luke Holmes?
No.
Holmes.
No.
He's pretty big.
It was a porn star, wasn't it?
That was John Holmes, incidentally, Mark.
Oh, sorry.
Coming up at 8:10. And kind of interesting, so you might, who is that singing? It's a really, actually kind of an interesting story as to who is singing that song, because they're going to be doing a show, in effect, a concert in Missouri coming up at the end of the month. We are welcoming back Stephanie Bell. Coming up a few minutes from now, daily DC, a rundown. What do you have for us, Steph?
Well, we're getting more details on this speech Biden plans to give today on Maganomics.
That's coming up. Daily DC Run.
which folks are speculating that's because of North Korea's interest in developing additional military like spy sites. And then also they're thinking Putin wants North Korea's backstock of ammunition and some other resources that they have. So the meeting went on, I think, for 4 hours. There was a lot to talk about. It's not looking good.
Well, and here's why I'm paying attention to this story and why I think it's important, because you've got two evil world leaders that hate America. They hate your way of life. They hate that we get up and have these freedoms. They hate it. Now they're teaming up together. I think that's something to pay attention to.
North Korea vowed full and unconditional support for Putin. Not great. Also, not great. We've got a federal judge on Wednesday basically declared DACA, a revised version of this federal policy. He declared it illegal, but he's declining to basically put an immediate stop to it. And everyone's like, this is my immediate thought. If it's your thought too, hasn't this already been to the Supreme Court? This will be the program's third time up to the Supreme Court. So there'll be multiple appeals. You'll be hearing about this in, I'm sure, months and years to come.
Doesn't the triple jeopardy law apply here, Steph?
No, it sure doesn't. All right. Also, Brandon, I'm surprised you haven't already told me this morning that the walls are closing in because, of course, yesterday Speaker McCarthy announced this impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden, but that is not good enough for Matt Gaetz. He is super mad, and they are super fighting on the House floor. Matt Gaetz obviously has not been a fan of McCarthy since the election. I think it took him till the 15th vote to vote for McCarthy, and McCarthy is now accusing Matt Gaetz of stunting and working with Democrats to imperil his whole leadership.
I think about this as much as you and I like to follow politics and, kind of the fun. I have to stop and remember, these are a couple of grown dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Missouri Task Force 1. It is based out of my county of Boone, but this helps every county in Missouri and every state in this country.
And somebody left your phone on the house floor in Jefferson City.
I think that's the regular house bell.
That's not what that is.
I think it is.
It's almost like leaving your phone ringer on during a radio show.
Right, or pulling up TikTok videos and hearing the best way to make an avocado spiced cake. Welcome to the show. It's Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
What?
Stephanie Bell is back. It's producer.
Pretty
Hannah.
esoteric, wasn't it?
Right. Still probably preferable to pumpkin spice. There's Marsh, Brian Houseworth. I am Branden Rathert. So veto session yesterday in Jefferson City, pretty much as expected, pretty quiet, not a whole lot going on. Missouri legislature did not override the governor's veto of more than $1 million. Now, this is specifically relating to funds for Missouri Task Force 1. Missouri Task Force 1, based here in mid-Missouri. Gail Blomenkamp, Boone County Fire Protection District, is a part of that. And Cherie Tolleson-Rice said, hey, we want to restore some of this money, about $1.4 million in funding for Missouri Task Force 1. Some of the things they've done recently, they sent cadaver dogs and personnel to Hawaii following the wildfires. They helped recently with hurricane cleanup. They travel all across the country, helping fellow Americans out. Gail Blomenkamp joining us on the show now. Gail, let me ask you, what was your reaction, first of all, when the money was removed several months ago? What was your reaction to that then?
Well, we were somewhat surprised when, a bill like that or money like that gets funded 100% unanimously in both chambers of the legislation. It was kind of surprising to see that got vetoed by the governor, but he has his reasons, and we didn't know what those reasons were. And so we were hopeful that the veto session would get that overturned and get that money back to us, but it just didn't work out.
So how will this affect Task Force 1?
So we did get funding for $225,000. It's ongoing for maintenance and upkeep of the equipment for some of the state equipment. And then they did fund $325,000 for an exercise, which is a training exercise that we do and try to do every year. And so with that $325,000, it's going to cut that exercise down significantly. And so we're going to struggle with that part of it and the training that's ongoing for these members that come from all across the state, not just here in Boone County, but mid-Missouri and everywhere else, all four corners of the state and everywhere in between. So it does hurt us.
Gail Blomenkamp, Task Force 1, reacting to the failed effort to override the veto, which included about $1.5 million for Task Force 1, joining us on the show.
Gail, talk to us about the cost for Task Force 1 of all the consumables and things that the team uses up when they go in the field, and how expensive that is to replace that gear.
Well, and we talk about the cost of everything, and as we all know, prices have never gone down. They've always gone up. At the federal government level, we've been funded by FEMA for about the last 20 years at the same level, about $1.2 million. So imagine what $1.2 million did 20 years ago versus what it does today. And so all of these funding streams need to continue. And for us, it just becomes harder and harder for us to do the work that we need to do and the training that we need to do and buy the equipment that we have to buy, because we're given a list of what it is that we have to carry and what it is that we have to buy. And then obviously the ongoing training. And, these members come from all over the state of Missouri to Boone County to do monthly trainings, and they're volunteering their time to do that. They're not getting paid to come here to train. So it's really important that we have the funding to support a good training program for them because they are putting in the time and effort on their own dime.
Yeah, Gail, we appreciate joining us live. I think it's important. I know a lot of the headlines said the governor's vetoes were all sustained and little action and stuff, but let's be very clear here, folks. 14 of the governor's vetoes, 14 of his own party in the Missouri House were overridden, including this one. The vote was 121 to 26. That's way more than you only needed 109 votes to override. My question to you is this, Gail. The Senate chose not to take the bill up, and it was one senator who chose not to because he happens to be the appropriations chair. His name is Lincoln Huff. He said that we're not going to do any of this, and he was pressed on it by Bill Eigel. He said he didn't believe there were enough Senate votes to override any of the 14. Should he have called for a vote?
In my opinion, what does it hurt to call for that vote? If you think you have them, fine. If you don't, that's fine too. But for one person to shoulder that, I think is a lot to ask. let the chips fall where they may and let people vote on it. Maybe it would have been overridden, maybe it wouldn't. I believe it took 23 senators to override it. And we've done our part trying to educate them on what we do and who we are and how we function. As a matter of fact, the day before that veto session, we'd had scheduled a tour of Missouri Task Force 1, and so we had senators and some of their staff right here in Boone County learning about the task force. And so we were hopeful that would happen, and we were hopeful that the Senate would at least bring it up for a vote. But, they've got their reasons. Who am I to question their reasons? I don't understand them, but it's not my job. It's their job. And so we do what we do, and we continue to do what we can.
All right, here's a question off the text. This is from Raymond. Why should taxpayers of Missouri be on the hook for Task Force 1 training? Let some of the states that they have responded to pay for some of it. How do we respond to that?
So the task force is a local asset, so an asset here in Boone County. It's also a state asset through SEMA, State Emergency Management Agency. And so Missouri Task Force 1 not only responds throughout the country, we respond right here in Boone County and anywhere in the state of Missouri at a moment's notice. And in fact, we've had multiple deployments right here in the state of Missouri. So it is important for the members of the state to support that and to support training. And, part of that $1.2 million from the federal side does support training. And it does go towards that monthly training that we talked about and then supporting the task force itself. So it's not just about the state of Missouri providing all the training for these men and women, but these are the best of the best out there, and every community in Missouri is pretty much represented by somebody on the task force. And so, it's an important thing because at some point the state of Missouri is going to go through a very tragic event, and whether it's the New Madrid seismic zone or whatever that is, that thing's been pretty active this year. So all things willing, we don't experience it, but it'd be great to have the men and women of this state trained to the highest level possible.
This question might seem like it's out of left field, but we're following with interest the story of this convicted killer who crab walked out of a jail in Pennsylvania. He was caught yesterday, apprehended, much to the relief of a lot of folks, but he was caught with a canine unit. Dogs caught the dude. Been on the run for almost 2 weeks. Dog caught him. And I'm familiar with a lot of the stuff with canine units, my sister being a cop and having worked with police departments in the past, and maybe kind of outside of your realm on the law enforcement side. But can you talk a little like the cadaver dogs? You guys just recently went to help fellow Americans in Hawaii following the wildfires. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about the training and the expense specifically associated with training these canine units?
Yeah, so we have live find dogs that are trained to find people that may be trapped or able to be rescued in rubble piles. We also have the cadaver dogs, or the human remains detection canine dogs and handlers. And so that is an ongoing, continual training exercise that they do pretty much every single day, whether it's live find or human remains. And so the handlers themselves do the training for the dogs. They own the dogs. They've raised them. We provide some dog food and some insurance, but really it's about the handler doing that training that makes these dogs what they are. And it takes a very special dog to do what they do, but it also takes a special person to be that handler. Oh, yeah. So, law enforcement dogs, same thing. They're training every day. They're doing what they do. And thank God we have them out there.
Can you tell us how much does it cost for something like that to train, let's say, for example, a cadaver dog?
So it takes them about 2 years to bring a dog from, 6-8 months to a year old to get them to where they're certified and fully trained. And so that's an expense that goes through, how do you put a dollar amount on a handler's time when they're at home training or when they're on the rubble pile training? So I don't have an exact cost, Brandon, but you can imagine how expensive that is and how time-consuming those dogs can be.
The only other thing I would add on the gentleman who texted you, Brandon, about the question about, why should taxpayers be on the hook about other states? If he's been to, and I'd encourage that listener to go out to the Boone County Fire District on I-70 right at Stadium. On all the trucks, they actually list all the deployments on there, and they like hurricanes, Hawaii, and everything. But there's probably 5, 6, maybe. I mean, they're up there. Eureka, St. Louis, Centralia, Missouri. You were up in Centralia, so like Columbia right here. So it is quite a bit. But I think that's a misconception that they're going to other states. They do a lot of stuff right here.
Gail Blomenkamp, Boone County Fire Protection District. We appreciate your time on the show, and we appreciate, please tell everybody today, we appreciate all first responders. We appreciate what you guys do too, Gail, okay?
I will pass that on, and we appreciate you guys, and thank you for your support.
Amen. Coming up tomorrow, Feel Good Friday, winners and losers of the week. Hannah, here's one of my winners of the week tomorrow.
A Jefferson City man is accused of ramming a car into a gas station so he could steal chocolate milk from the store. Chocolate milk taken from the store was found in the car.
Oh, man.
I saw this and I thought that I used to live like walkable distance from that very store.
That was a piece John did yesterday in the news, and we just rather enjoyed, John, your deadpan delivery on the chocolate milk that was stolen. It was good stuff.
But have you had the Central Dairy chocolate milk from the gas station? Because something about that, like as a kid, I never got that. We had to make our own with like the syrup or the powder. There's something different about that pre-made Central Dairy chocolate milk from the gas station.
Have you priced it lately?
I haven't.
John, I cannot tell you how many times that your voicer there got played in the office yesterday. Just your deadpan delivery, and it was so serious.
I was even on the air with a special report with Gary Nolan about the chocolate milk bandit.
Gary Nolan's here weekdays, 9 to noon on the radio station. Mike Kehoe, campaigning, our current lieutenant governor, campaigning to be governor of Missouri. He's here 7:10. We'll talk about the campaign. Stephanie's got some really good questions.
I have a question for John Marsh, actually. Was the chocolate milk bandit drinking more than just chocolate milk? Do we know?
Couldn't tell you. They did not indicate what potentially may have been mixed with the chocolate milk.
Okay.
Ooh.
And what
that would curdle.
Maybe rum? What would you put in chocolate milk, or the peppermint schnapps in hot chocolate? Then they do the like the coffee stuff in the hot chocolate.
Yeah,
Peanut butter whiskey.
Rum chata or like Bailey's or something. Yeah.
If you need any drink recipes, give Stephanie Bell a call, 874-9390. Coming up a few minutes from now here on the show, Patrick Mulholland.
500 up 6.
Stephanie Bell keeping an eye on the futures for you this morning. We'll feature those at 8:25 in the Morning Bell Business News with a little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. Patrick Mahomes trying to right the ship coming up this weekend. And John is looking pretty good. It looks like Travis Kelce, latest on him, looks like he is likely to play, I think.
Probable, they were calling him.
We got Chris Jones back. He said he'd been working out. He signed a contract, a 1-year extension this week, so he's back. So hopefully we will right the ship. And I appreciate Patrick Mahomes because of the excitement he has brought me as a lifelong Chiefs fan for the past 8 years now. I appreciate him for that, and I appreciate him reminding me why commas matter. I use the ... instead of commas. I'm like, because I don't know.
It's called the ellipses.
The ellipses,
Brandon,
the ...
There's lots that could be said about your grammar and spelling and punctuation.
It ain't good.
It's not.
And here's the weird thing about spelling. I don't know if any other older people experience this. In grade school, I won every single spelling bee, got 100% on every single spelling test. One time I missed the word February. I don't know what happened there. But as I get older, I'm forgetting how to spell words. Like, is it I or E?
That always trips me up.
Yeah.
I's and E's.
Albuquerque. I've been spelling Albuquerque a lot because the governor just rescinded the Second Amendment in Albuquerque. No, she just, no more Second Amendment. That blows me away.
You ought to see me every time I try to type in gubernatorial on the Facebook and YouTube live caption boxes. I have to sit here and really sound it out, and then spell check usually still helps me out.
Here's how I spell gubernatorial. GOOBERNATORIAL.
As I shake my head.
GOOB. I don't think that's right.
That was correct when Jimmy Carter was actually the governor of Georgia back in the day.
So Patrick Mahomes, great lesson from Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers, after he suffered that season-ending surgery, like 4 snaps into his big debut with the New York Jets. On 9/11, after his season comes to an end, Patrick Mahomes, he gets out his phone. He's sitting there with Brittany and the little baby, and they're all hanging out. He's like, I'm going to tweet or X about this. What's the proper phrase?
You can tweet.
You can tweet on X. So he gets out his real fancy smartphone, and he gets onto the Twitter, and he's like, okay. And he says, here's the tweet he puts out in regards to Aaron Rodgers. Hate that man. Praying for the best. Realized his error. Somebody, I'm guessing, who has got a better writing comprehension than I do, said, hey, Patrick, dude, it says, hate that man. I'll show you here on the camera if you want to see how I think it adds some context to show how he did the first one. Hate that man, praying for the best. Realized it was a mistake, retweeted, hate that, comma, man.
She said, hate that for you, bro.
Something like that. So he's not trying to say, hate that man, Aaron Rodgers. He's trying to say, hate that.
Well, and then he tweeted later, he's like, I knew that edit feature on Twitter would come in handy one of these days.
Sure does.
Incidentally, that was interesting. There's a bar in Green Bay where Aaron Rodgers had a storied career there, and this bar in Green Bay. You ever been to a bar in Green Bay? They're pretty cool. Like carpeted walls and board. I mean, it's
all they serve is brandy.
Yeah, brandy and Pabst Blue Ribbon. But it's called Jack's American Pub in Milwaukee, and they had this deal. Hey, you come out, you watch the game, you drink up, and if Aaron Rodgers and the Jets lose, drinks are on us because we want Aaron Rodgers to lose. So everybody shows up at Jack's American Pub in Milwaukee for some Monday night football after a hard day of work. And they're drinking, they're trying to be careful because they know they know that Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback. 4 snaps in, he's out. Guess what happens? People start drinking up. The Jets are going to lose. These people went hog wild on the Pabst Blue Ribbon and the brandy. And then that would be all except for this, John. Of course, Jets come back in incredible fashion, win in overtime. All those people on the hook. For those
and everybody trying to skip their tab.
Yeah.
Wow.
And don't do that because apparently back in the day, and I don't do this anymore, but if you would run a tab at a bar and for some reason you forgot to pay it.
It's like an automatic 30%.
ready, pal.
And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
People they have leading it are not very smart. In fact, they're borderline stupid. I mean, James Comer or Jim Jordan. And the people in the House, these are very smart people. I don't think the White House needs to worry too much about this and let these congressional Democrats who are whip smart are just going to eat these people alive. I so want them to do this. I can't tell you how much I want them to do this.
Of course, that Louisiana accent, James Carville, he says Jordan and Comer are stupid on this impeachment stuff. By the way, one of the big things that people keep talking about evidence, here's evidence. Over 100 times, money transfers involving the Bidens were flagged by people in the banking industry because they're like, that looks interesting. That looks a little suspicious because of the number of transfers and the amount of transfers that fall under like a certain amount if it falls under a certain amount. So there's some evidence, and I think that's the whole idea of an impeachment inquiry is to say, hey, there's a lot of likelihoods here. Now let's do this. Get more records, get more proof, put that stuff on the records.
The walls are closing in.
The walls are closing in. I hope something happens. I think I kind of side with Hannah on this. Maybe nothing is going to happen, but it looks like from what we are seeing, there's stuff there. There really is. We're going to cover that more. And here's the other thing I think is starting to cause problems on the House floor. Matt Gaetz and Kevin McCarthy, they're going at it. And it's turned into a soap opera. And it occurs to me, this Matt Gaetz, by the way, who was on CNN and MSNBC yesterday making the case against Kevin McCarthy. I don't know how many times in the past, I'm trying to think, I don't know how many times I've seen Matt Gaetz on MSNBC or CNN. But now he will utilize them because, hey, he wants to go after a fellow Republican, and here we are in the middle, just like little kids in a divorce, just caught in the middle. And these are grown men, by the way. You know, I laugh because we love the politics, right? We love that stuff.
And the tweets.
And
I mean, it was Matt Gaetz who sent us into Twitter viral territory with his, what did he call Luke DeMeyer? A shell of a, I don't remember.
Shell of a human being, something. I don't remember. But
that went viral.
Yeah.
It did.
It really.
But Luke DeMeyer said all he does is run around stunting for cameras, and his whole point was if we get more cameras, all we're going to get is more Matt Gaetz pulling all these stunts, which he's getting a lot of press coverage.
And I want to move on to the next thing. One of our gubernatorial candidates, Mike Kehoe, is joining us, our current lieutenant governor. But I want to highlight Matt Gaetz is one of the problems with politics, and there's a lot of them. And it's not just Matt. But when you go on TV, he's coming out here. They're watching some video of Kevin McCarthy talking about. He says, well, Gaetz is worried about a House investigation and all this. And this is Matt Gaetz.
I couldn't tell if you cut away to Kevin McCarthy or a commercial for low T.
For low testosterone. And it's a great line, right? We're laughing a little bit. We're reacting. But he is the problem. That is the problem in my mind with modern politics.
I mean, what did he call Blaine Lukemeyer? Like a husk of a human or something weird?
I was going to say, we can't hate on him too much because he helped us go viral that one time on Twitter. Come on, guys.
We do thank him for that. Welcome into the show. Closer to home, politics. Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, running for governor, joining us on the show now to talk about his campaign for governor. Mr. Kehoe, welcome into the show. You're traveling the state, as you did anyway, in your role as lieutenant governor, encouraging people to buy Mid-Missouri. We know the work that you do for veterans, but when you're traveling around the state of Missouri, what are the two biggest concerns you hear from our fellow Missourians?
Well, first of all, it's great to join you guys. And as I say all the time, it's great to start my morning off with Hannah. She tried to blow me off the other night, as you know, at the Missouri Times event.
So actually,
circle back and make sure she reconciled with me.
Mr. Kehoe, before you get into the answer about what you're hearing from Missourians all across the state, we need to talk about this incident that occurred Monday night at the Missouri Times.
Yeah, we do.
30 and
What? Why is it an incident? Now you're calling it an incident.
It's Hannah-gate. Hannah-gate. What happened, Hannah? Your point of view. What happened that night?
So we were in a very crowded room at the Missouri Times, 30 under 30.
Thank you, Hannah. That's the main point right there.
I'm trying to get to the bar to get a drink. Turns out I needed to cry into a drink after what happened. But I bumped into the lieutenant governor, and I said, oh, hey, like, good to see you. And I shook his hand. And you ever say hi to someone and they have that look on their face and you just know that they have no idea who you are? So
Hannah, that look, as you know, we're also getting ready for a wedding in our house. And that look was, have I sent her gift to her yet? And so you've got that look confused. So you'll probably get that a few times in the next few weeks as you approach the big day. You'll meet people and they'll say, "Oh man, did I send her something yet or not?" That's the look. That's probably where you got confused.
I can maybe let it slide if that's the case. But the worst part was I was sitting at the table with Rathert. He was eating his dinner. Lieutenant Governor comes up to Branden. They're talking, shooting the breeze. And the Lieutenant Governor looks both directions and says, "Where's Hannah?" And I'm sitting right in front of him. Like, I'm right here.
That was getting even for you not recognizing me on the call-in a few weeks previous.
That's
called
true.
in and said, "Welcome to Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Who's calling?" And I said, "Well, Hannah, it's Mike." "Oh, okay. Yeah, I should have said that."
Touche.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Mr. Kehoe, we appreciate you being on the show.
Branden,
You and Hannah,
Thanks, Mike.
You all take this off air and you all settle your differences and do it politely. Biggest two things you're hearing from Missourians across the state while you campaign to be our next governor.
The biggest two things are, fortunately, two things we're focusing on. Crime seems to be the number one issue no matter where you go. Small town, 250 people. Large town, 2 million people, doesn't matter. Getting our streets safe again is the number one thing. And then the second thing is more about kind of how the national effect on inflation is affecting Missourians, whether they're buying groceries, gas, or their businesses trying to hire people. The inflation pressure is real, and there's some concern out there that it's going to cause further effects to us. But it's the first effect is just to the average pocketbook of Missourians.
Or whether they're trying to pay for a wedding, right? You and Hannah can agree on that.
Well, and I think
we're not going down the wedding road today, are we?
And I think it's interesting because you said the biggest concern, crime. And the economy, obviously, the economy that's easily traceable to the Democrats, and then the crime
the
too.
Bidenomics.
And but don't worry, he's coming out today. He's going to give a big speech about how well Bidenomics is working. And the other thing is crime. People especially worried about crime since 2020 because all the progressive news outlets, we hate cops, defund the police. People like Corey Bush right here in Missouri have festered this hate for law enforcement. Crime is increasing. So we can trace those problems to Democrat policies.
Lieutenant Governor Kehoe, crime is an issue that we certainly have seen in Columbia, some of the violent crime that I cover at the Boone County Courthouse, no question. We appreciate you joining us live. One of the things that I know that you're still working on is Lieutenant Governor, but I'm sure it'll come up, it's going to come up for sure in January as you campaign for governor. Two big issues I heard yesterday in the legislature were Boone County Task Force 1 funding and also the National Guard reenlistment funding as well. They were both overridden in the House, no votes in the Senate. And I'm not asking it what you would do as governor comparing it to Parson, but from your perspective, do you think they'll be able to find money for those? Because you heard the sound bites that I played with Cherie Tolson-Reich and the gentleman from Cole. They were both pretty frustrated.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Missouri Task Force 1 is a national asset that we happen to have here in Missouri. Fantastic people, fantastic operation. We've seen what they're able to do when they're deploying. I can't speak for the governor on what his theory was behind that withhold. I know overall, as you know, Brian, some of the tax cuts we fortunately put into place, especially for seniors in last year's session, the cost of that was something the governor was trying to catch up with on his bulk of line item vetoes. But as far as Task Force 1, I'm very supportive of that program. I would love to continue to find ways to find resources for that. And I think I know the governor is very supportive of it. I don't know that we want to take one action that he took as a broad brush on what he thinks about that. And of course, National Guard, the recruitment for that agency is similar to what we talk about in law enforcement. There's just it's tough times to get people to consider being in an authoritarian position of any kind of law enforcement, whether it's the National Guard and their enforcement duties that they may have through that responsibility or law enforcement in general. We need to be able to have the resources to recruit men and women to get into those agencies.
All right, Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe joining us on the show this morning on Wake Up Mid-Missouri to talk about his gubernatorial campaign.
Governor, we had your primary opponent, Senator Eigel, on the air the other morning. We asked him, said, when you guys come back in January, what about the conservative caucus? You can call it anything you want, but we asked him if he has any plans to tie things up again with a filibuster and all the delaying tactics we saw in the Senate, and he didn't rule it out. As you, by statute, being the guy who presides over the Senate, your take on that?
Well, it's a tool. It's not a tool, I think, that is effective, especially when it's Republicans against Republicans. You talked earlier about that on the national level with Mr. Gates and Blaine. And by the way, I think Blaine has done an incredible job for his district and for our state. We're fortunate to have him there. But, when Republicans are fighting Republicans, we're losing the focus of what we're there for, and that is to hold up for two things: the reason that our constituents sent us to that building, and B, to try to get some good conservative legislation passed. And when you tie up the floor, and both sides have done it, by the way, but when you tie up the floor and you don't get to the main agenda, you're not able to get to public safety issues, state control over the St. Louis City Police Department, for instance, or some of the other things that are top on people's minds. You just don't end up productive. And, you guys asked me, what are Missourians saying when you travel around the state? We talked about some top issues, but kind of when the car door opens, or for me, the truck door open, one of the first things they say is, are you getting anything done? Doesn't matter what party or what part of the state you're from, people are very, very tired of this divisive politics. And the more that continues, the more they're going to disengage. And disengagement for our party is not good. We need conservatives to feel like they're able to elect people that can go into that Capitol building, make sure, government doesn't get involved in your life because we don't need to be. But when we have to get something done. I think that's what Missourians want.
All right, Lieutenant Governor, 15 seconds, your stance on trying to get rid of property taxes.
Love to get rid of property taxes. I think there's nobody in that building, that's not even a bipartisan issue. But you can't just stand there and say, this is something I want to do to, potentially get, a click on a social media site versus this is what I want to do. And here's a plan on how to get there with all the parties that are involved and a runway to get there. That's the conversation that needs to happen is this is the goal. Now, what do we need to do to get to the goal besides just saying we want to do it?
All right, Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe talking about his gubernatorial campaign. We appreciate your time on the show, and we will look forward to the next time that we get to hang. Well, we are. I don't know about Hannah, but most of us are looking forward to the next time.
Hannah and I are tight. You guys just need to get over it.
Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, we appreciate your time this morning on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Coming up 7:25-ish. What's hot with Hannah? Morning 7:25-ish, which means it's...
Oh, hang on just a second. I got to clear my throat here. It's 7:26.
Thanks to the
Sorry.
10-second delay. Delay, deflect, and diffuse. You'll be a great politician one day, Anna.
Thanks, I think. Boy bands, Brandon. Were they ever your thing back in the day?
No, but being in Top 40 radio, John, I had to play Everybody's Back from Backstreet, In Sync, 98 Degrees, all of them, and every time it was like I needed the airline vomit bag. Every time I played these
It's
guys.
interesting that you mention In Sync because they're making headlines this morning. They were at the VMA Awards earlier this week. They presented an award to Taylor Swift, and Taylor was very starstruck the entire time. And on mic was like, "What are you guys up to? Is there a project coming that we need to know about?" It was kind of just random for them to just magically appear at the 2023 MTV VMA Awards. Well, now we know why. Overnight, there was a movie trailer released for a new Trolls movie. If you're not familiar with that, it's an animated series. It's got Justin Timberlake. He's been voicing one of the main characters in that since the first film came out a few years ago. Anna Kendrick, a bunch of other people. But it's an animated musical series, and they released the trailer overnight for the next movie called Trolls Band Together. And in the trailer, there is an NSYNC song that is brand new. And this will be the first song that the band has released in over 20 years. And you can just hear a little snippet of it in the trailer that's posted on the Wake Up Facebook page. But the full song will be released later this month, so you don't have to wait for the movie to come out. But NSYNC will be dropping a song at the end of the month. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah, because it used to be this stuff like that.
Right.
I love the holiday album. The Christmas album is still one of my faves.
Yeah, but you also like pumpkin spice, so come
I don't.
Oh, that's a Hannah thing.
I always thought that Brandon was kind of the Lance Bass of talk radio.
Explain.
Is that a compliment or?
We'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
But my favorite from the Taylor Swift thing was that they had a camera on her the whole time. So when NSYNC came out on the stage, she was like visibly shaking. She was so excited. And then she kind of had trouble like accepting the award. And then they handed her little friendship bracelets. And it was like a moment. It's really fun when you see someone who's like, obviously they're a fan of hers, but then she was like such a fan of theirs, and like
she was
mutual
starstruck.
admiration. It was what if they do a collab? Oh my gosh, you heard it here first. What if they?
Boy.
That would be so excellent.
How
Maybe
old
she'll
are
run
those
off
guys?
with JT, right?
How old are they? They're like my age. Are you?
Oh, so they're
did you
pretty
hear that
old.
in Hannah's voice? How old are those guys?
Early 2000s.
Hang on, I gotta Google this here.
And does anybody know, I don't like to talk rumors in the office, talk about other people, but is Travis Kelce, is our boys number 87 dating Taylor Swift? Has anybody heard anything on this, Hannah? Because if anybody has, it's you.
There are rumors, but nothing has been confirmed.
Justin Timberlake
The day after the September 11th attacks, falsely claimed he saw the Pittsburgh Bridge collapse. Claimed his grandfather died in the hospital days before his birth. What is going on with the president? Is he just believing things that didn't happen did happen, or is he just randomly making stuff up?
The president was deeply touched and honored to be able to spend 9/11 with military members there in Alaska and some families.
It's not the question.
A string of saying things that happened, things that are easily debunked. Why does he keep doing that?
The president was grateful to spend that time with those family members and those troops.
Almost Hannah-esque there. Deflect.
What do you mean?
Not answering the question. Why does Biden keep lying? This is, by the way, a Washington Times reporter. Why does Biden keep saying these things? He said over the weekend. He said, "Well, I was at 9/11 the day after." He was not. He was at the thing with the bridge in Pittsburgh. He just keeps telling these lies, and that is a very fair question, by the way.
He's confused.
And John Kirby, by the way, who's answering those questions from the National Security Council, John Kirby should come out and say that. Like, would we have a different view? Joe Biden's an old dude. Sadly enough, we're watching this human being crumble before our eyes. Even sadder than that, people elected this guy to be president. And these people
might do it again.
And they might do it again. My goodness. I don't understand that. But what would our reaction be if John Kirby came out and said, well, he's just lying. He's trying to make stuff up, because MSNBC, USA Today, CNN, and all the national news outlets, they're just going to run with that. They're not going to fact check. They are not going to call him on that. So if John Kirby just comes out and says, well, he's just intentionally lying to people. He wants people to have a favorable opinion of him, and we know that national journalists will not check us. So that's what he's just lying. What if that were the response, John? Would you at least go, oh, okay, we already knew that, but at least, hey, we appreciate your honesty, Mr. Kirby, and have a nice day?
I don't know. He's got that admiral's retirement pay coming in, so he's set.
I know, and he's asked again, and you heard there, well, the president was glad to be there, but he lied about being at one of the darkest moments in the history of the United States of America. He lied about that, John. What's going on? Or come out and say, yeah, he's losing his mind. He really is. He's got Alzheimer's. He's got something. But tell us the truth. How refreshing would that be for John Kirby to be at the podium and this reporter saying, why does Joe keep telling these stories, these lies? What's going on? Well, he's got some health issues. He ain't all there anymore. It's not really his fault. It's just his age, and that's why. How would our reaction as Americans be then?
We would be in full-on panic mode if they actually admitted it, that this guy is like the leader of the free world and has no clue what's going on. I mean, we know it, we do, but if somebody said it out loud, we would really, I would be panicked.
And then Brandon would spend a full 3-hour show here on Wake Up in Missouri doing, I don't normally like to say I told you so, but...
Told you so. Welcome into the show. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Stephanie Bell is back.
I am back.
Looky there, man. How have you been? What's going on?
I've been great.
Where you been?
I've been in Europe.
Really?
Yeah.
Work, pleasure?
Both.
Because work is pleasure. That's the right answer, coming from Stephanie Bell especially.
I'm never not working,
yeah,
actually.
I know. Highlights of the trip?
I had a conference in Switzerland, so I'd never been there before. So Zurich
By
was
the way,
really
this
beautiful.
isn't humble bragging because I'm asking.
Well, okay. No, so a trip that I had planned for a while, but I got to take my sister, and I didn't take, but they came along with me. My sister and my brother met my husband and I in Italy, and so we spent some time there. I'd never been to Italy either. It was really hot there, surprisingly, but, it's kind of like Missouri. In Zurich, it was so warm there, and we were expecting, you think Switzerland, coats, all that. We got there, and there was a bridge near our, you would have thought we were in Osage County. Little bridge in Zurich, actually kind of a bigger bridge, but right near our hotel. And even the hotel had a little postcard that said, take a swim. And there was a current near a river. And you just stood on the bridge and jumped off people all day long. And so Chris, sure enough, I did not jump off the bridge, but sure enough, so never in my life did I think, just like in Missouri, it was almost like a float trip, except in Europe, no one, because then you just
classy float trip.
You just not really. You just floated down, and then when you got done, it was like a water park. You got out, walked through a bunch of people eating and at bars, and then did it again, like you were at Big Surf or something. But then again, no one had any flotation devices, and I'm fairly certain people were enjoying themselves, and so I was like, Is
there a lifeguard on duty?
We would have had like a noodle or like a something like a.
Wait, you went to Italy and there were no noodles?
Fair point. That was a little bit bizarre.
And one of the other things I was wondering. So I know, and I've jumped off bridges in rural Missouri before, mostly in southeast Missouri.
How many years ago?
Gosh, Reagan was president. But everybody, they wore the muscle T-shirts. Is that a thing in Europe? In Zurich, are they sporting around muscle shirts, ribbed muscle shirts?
Wife beaters.
No, not really. But yeah, it was so it was like kind of a little slice of home when you go over there. And then of course I was telling you when I tried to explain to a lot of people where I was from, they were like Missouri, but they knew about the Chiefs, so I could say because they watch NFL. A lot of them are familiar with NFL, so it was like, oh yeah, the Chiefs. They're like, oh yeah, Kansas City. Like so that was kind of made it a little bit easier.
What do they call football in Europe?
American football.
American football.
Because I went to the FIFA museum. Actually, the FIFA headquarters is in Zurich, so.
We missed you some of the big things that happened.
Yeah, what'd I miss?
While you were gone, Hannah was honored by Scott Fawn, Missouri Times, 30 under 30.
Thank you.
Great
Congrats.
roast. I think the best line, and it was, who was it, Jeff Knight and Dan Houks?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the best lines of the night was from Cindy O'Loughlin, actually, a senator from
I love her.
Northeast Missouri.
She was probably the best of the night.
She is so fire. Her social media is great.
She was good. There was so the St. Louis Post-Dispatch did a story on Bill Eigel, state senator who's running for governor, and they talked about this. And Bill Eigel saying, "Hey, it's not me. It's the vendor of the PAC, whatever it is." But basically, the campaign for Bill Eigel was sending out flyers nationwide with pictures of Trump and stand up. Department of Justice going after Trump. Let's back Trump. Donate $10 right now or whatever. And it did say on the mailers and in the emails in small print, like at the bottom of the thing, this donation going to Bill Eigel. I don't know that I completely fault the guy. If it says it on there, it's on the people who don't read the stuff. I really believe that. But the St. Louis Post-Dispatch had this story about all these people from Arizona and other states donating to the Bill Eigel campaign. And people are like, what? I thought I was donating to Trump. Trump campaign, they sent a letter. They sent a C&D. And as an attorney, man, you get slapped with a C&D, that'll ruin your day.
It will ruin your day. It's not a good look for him. But he while I was out of town, he also had a big kickoff, right?
Yeah, huge kickoff on Friday, and he was on the show here on Monday talking about who showed up in this letter from the Trump campaign. This is from the letter, neither Bill Eigel nor his Bill PAC. Actually, this is from the Trump campaign. Neither Bill Eigel nor his Bill PAC have anything to do with President Trump or his campaign. He knows it, and Targeted Victory, who's handling his stuff, they know it. If you do not cease and desist this unauthorized use immediately, President Trump and his campaign will make sure everyone knows it. This is a letter they sent to gubernatorial candidate Bill Eigel.
Well, and Trump's racking up the legal bills, so he needs all the money he can get. So he's like, give me that money. But that's kind of like Eminem telling Vivek Ramaswamy, like, hey, lay off my song, dude.
Eigel, his PAC, and Targeted Victory have been warned about this unauthorized use and asked to stop it, yet it appears that you have chosen to ignore those warnings and requests. Bill Eigel's statement to the Post-Dispatch was like, hey, I didn't know this was going on, and I'm confident, basically, quoting Bill Eigel from the Post-Dispatch, confident that any miscommunication issues between groups outside of my campaign will be resolved. So Cindy O'Loughlin gets up there, and she was talking about her advanced age, who apparently was targeted by some of these campaign mailers. So Cindy O'Loughlin's talking about her age, but she's like, oh, where's my purse? Oh, there it is. Good. I just want to make sure Bill Eigel doesn't get into it.
She was like, I'm an old lady, so I need to keep track of my purse.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. So you missed that. What else?
There was the chocolate milk dude.
Chocolate milk dude.
I saw some unhappy Tigers fans. Do we want to go there? We still won, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just wasn't real pretty.
Yeah. And it was Middle Tennessee State. This weekend, number 2, K-State coming in. We're doing the Tiger Tailgate. So what you want to do? Man, we feed you Buffalo Wild Wings. We give you free Bud Light, high noon, Hy-Vee's there, Echo Water Systems, free water, Twain Barbecue and Tap Room in Jefferson City. You can go to Big Whiskey's in Boonville, Club Car Wash. You can also hit up Club Car Wash locations in Columbia. You just go and you say, hey, I heard Wake Up Mid-Missouri talking about these passes. Can I get a few? They'll hook you up with at least 4.
I just thought of something else that Stephanie missed. We got a text earlier. Was it this week or last week? At 874-9390 from a listener who I have to be careful here because I don't want to expose too much.
This is a really, really good story, Hannah. Can you share this like 5 minutes?
This is a real good story.
This is good.
Now I'm nervous.
This is good because it's kindness from a complete stranger here in mid-Missouri.
One of the family members.
Dumb luck. Well, I don't want to give too much away. We'll do that story like in 5
Did
minutes.
they accidentally tweet our line or text our line? Oh, no.
We'll see. Coming up a few minutes from now. And we'll also be doing, and that would be all except for this. What can we look forward to, John?
It ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun.
It's 5 minutes from now.
NASDAQ up 40, S&P 500 up 6.
Stephanie's going to be monitoring the opening bell coming up at 8:25 in the morning bell. Business news with a little twist that only you got to do this, right? I know you forgot you were in Europe for a while. You forgot to drive in and forgot how to drive. Morning bell, 8:25. You got some?
I tried to keep up with the business news. I did take a little bit of a break, but no, it's this drug that we've all been taking. I've taken it. I'm sure you've all.
John.
We've all been taking it. We're now hearing from the government that it does nothing. It does absolutely nothing.
Does nothing. What is it? We'll do that coming up at 8:25.
And that would be all, except for this.
Yes, it bears repeating. They say it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. That's what happened with a couple of 7-Eleven guys in California who, how do we say it, turned the tables on a guy who was stealing cartons of cigarettes from the store. There's a video out there, shows the guy with his head and face covered with a blue T-shirt, and he grabs a trash can and starts cleaning off the tobacco shelves. And the video's rolling. The guy continues to stuff the trash cans, cussing out everybody within arm's length and threatening to shoot people. And the man taking the video, you can hear him saying in the background, "Ain't nothing you can do." But at one point, here comes the second 7-Eleven worker with a really big stick, and he starts wailing on the suspect. The suspect promptly is on the ground and starts crying and begs the guy not to beat him anymore. And the guy in the video can be heard saying, "That's what's called whooping yo." The suspect says, "I can't walk." And the guy in the video says, "Well, you going to walk tonight?" And on the way out the door, he asked the guy who was beating him, "Can I have a soda?" To which he whacked him with a stick again. Now you know the rest of that one.
That guy messed around and he found out.
I love stories. Did he steal any chocolate milk, incidentally?
I don't think he even got to the chocolate milk aisle, but the guy must have hit him with this, looked like an axe handle, must have hit him like 20 or 30 times.
Love this story yesterday from Marsh.
A Jefferson City man is accused of ramming a car into a gas station so he could steal chocolate milk from the store. Chocolate milk taken from the store was found in the car.
Chocolate milk? You're really good with these crime stories.
I am.
Here's the thing I like about these stories, and especially with this governor in New Mexico who just thinks that she can rescind the Second Amendment. There's a story. Some dude was trying to assault his girlfriend at a house in Phoenix. The girlfriend's brother was home, shot this dude. There was another story in Tennessee, and they happen all the time. We just don't see about them a lot. Does it sound callous to say I wish we'd hear more about stories, people protecting themselves? And I know law enforcement typically will say, "Hey, listen, you're at a convenience store and you get robbed. Don't try to be a hero. I don't think I could do that. And I might end up dead, but I just don't think I have the capability to let somebody steal from me like that. I don't think I could do it. I don't know that I could do it, but I wish we'd hear more stories like that. Hey, dude practiced his Second Amendment right and protected himself and popped a cat in somebody's rear end and stopped them from robbing his stuff."
Well, you see that too, and a lot of these times they don't point out that the folks running the convenience stores who go after the bad guys are oftentimes first-generation Americans or immigrants and stuff like that, and it's like, you're not messing with my livelihood.
Yeah, and the idea being, because I don't like it when people get killed, but the point being, if the news outlets would cover these stories more about people protecting themselves from people that want to do you harm, maybe it would dissuade people from trying to do that stuff. Elon Musk. So, hey, here's the new shiny thing Stephanie Bell turned us on to, ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, and make sure we know artificial intelligence has been around for a while, but now it's accessible to us. We can get on our keyboard and we can become friends with ChatGPT. We were really good friends for a while. But now, obviously, they want to regulate. Oh, look, here's something else that we can regulate. Elon Musk yesterday was asked by a reporter. I think you can hear it. He was asked this question.
Is AI going to kill us all, Mr. Musk?
Great question, John. As a journalist, have you ever asked, is this going to kill us? I thought a great question. Here was his answer.
I hope not. I think of the future as a series of probabilities as opposed to certainties. There's some chance that above zero that AI will kill us all. I think it's low, but there's some chance.
Okay.
I mean, people get killed by like vending machines every year. I mean, you've looked that up, right?
Yeah.
And every time people are like, "You shouldn't drink so much Diet Coke," I'm like, "You got to die of something." And if I really like Diet Coke. Brings me a lot of enjoyment. Actually, Coke Zero.
Well, here's the thing, and even listen, and I don't get on the TikTok. But I don't care if you want to use it, use it. People, well, those videos, TikTok and Facebook is responsible for that one chip challenge where a kid died. No, social media is not responsible for that. It was a venue in which these videos are played, but I don't buy into that's what's making me do it. It's on there. It's just a venue. And and I agree. And people get mad at me. Well, you're very cold and callous. No, life happens. Things happen.
But, I don't want to say I told you so, but back when you guys were marching those robot dogs into the studio, I told you, I said, this feels unsafe. Robots are scary. And now Elon is confirming it. The probability of those robot dogs killing us is more than zero.
A couple of years ago, there was a Super Bowl commercial. I had robot dogs. I think it was a beer commercial. And as it turns out, those yellow robot dogs were developed at Mizzou. And so we had those very dogs that were in that Super Bowl commercial. They came into the Wake Up Mid-Missouri studios. They freaked Stephanie out.
They're terrifying.
It is a little weird.
They're like 80 pounds.
And as fluid as their movements are.
They can jump 4 feet off.
on her to the extent they are, because she has done nothing to deserve this. Every vice president is considered kind of an asterisk. I remember us laughing sometimes at Joe Biden when he was vice president in the cloakroom of the Senate. I mean, I wasn't laughing, sorry, Mr. President, but other people were kind of making fun of him. Al Gore, same thing. Dan Quayle, same thing. Vice presidents have a tough job.
Do they, though?
So, and that contradicts what Nancy, so that's Claire McCaskill, former U.S. Senator, until she was unseated by Josh Hawley. So Claire McCaskill, she's saying, well, vice presidents have a tough job. Nancy Pelosi.
That's the job description. You don't do that much.
So who's right? Which Democrat is right? Is it Pelosi or is it Claire? Claire says it's a tough job. Pelosi, by the way, asked 3 times by Anderson Cooper on CNN yesterday, do you think Kamala's a good vice president? She did not answer. Pelosi asked 3 times. She did not answer. Did not answer the
Pelosi's right. Pelosi's right. Claire's clearly lying because she's lying about the first part. She's like, remember, everyone was laughing at him, but not me. I wasn't. It's like when you get caught and you're like, yeah, everyone was making fun of you.
It wasn't me.
But yeah.
And it was funny because yesterday we highlighted some audio from Claire McCaskill throwing, flowery terms on Joe Biden.
Would be a good start.
Yeah.
Wisdom, experience, steady hand, getting things done. What's wrong? What's the problem here?
So and I don't know what word you want to use for it, but when somebody thinks like the opposite of reality, I don't know, is that delusional? When you're saying Kamala's doing a good job, when you say that Joe Biden is doing a good job, and believe me, Claire, nobody thinks that. There's very few people that really think that. Is that delusion? Is that insanity?
Wisdom is a word she actually used when referring to Joe Biden. Wisdom.
So I want to go back to some of these things that Claire said in that statement there on MSNBC.
Why is America down on her to the extent they are? Because she has done nothing.
Maybe that's the point.
I guess we'll just stop it there.
Was she talking about the border?
Well, all the work that Kamala has done on the border and that one time she explained, we're big fans here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri of explaining, here's the news, but here's how it affects you. We don't just come on to complain about Joe. We talk about how it affects you. And so we have appreciation for that. And I remember when Kamala was explaining in geographical terms Russia and Ukraine. Remember that?
Well, and we also admire when folks can explain complicated subjects to us like we're 2 years old.
Yeah. And so Kamala did that one time. She said, well, Russia's a country, and it's a big country. And next to it is Ukraine. And Ukraine is a smaller country. Russia invaded Ukraine. She left out the part that it was Joe Biden's fault because Vladimir Putin perceived him to be incredibly weak on a worldwide stage, which Steph and I called prior to the tragic events of January 20th of 2021. NATO said, yeah, that's why Putin invaded Ukraine, because of Joe's ineptitude and because he killed 13 of our Americans. So, yeah, I guess she's done a couple of things. She's done great work at the border.
I think the main thing Kamala's done is in her role as presiding officer of the Senate. She was the one to break the ties on nominations of everybody down the road as compared to Joe Biden. I think when he was vice president, he cast 0 tie-breaking votes in the Senate.
All right, I want to try to go back to, I think we've got over our computer problem here. I want to go back to some more of this audio from...
No, you're still sitting behind it.
from Claire McCaskill.
Every vice president is considered kind of an ass.
Okay, your problem. I think she was saying...
Claire.
Was she
Classy
saying...
edit.
Wow.
Every vice president is considered kind of an ass.
I think she was trying to say it's computer problems. Not my fault, folks. I'm sorry if kids are in the car. Explain to them. It's just a word. It's no big deal. I think she was saying asset or asterisk.
Oh.
I'm not sure which.
Asterisk.
Asterisk. Saturday, we're doing our another Tiger tailgate. Is one of the biggest Tiger tailgates. Man, you see all those tailgates out there at the stadium. Ours is pretty cool. And it's what we do. Free food from Buffalo Wild Wings, free Bud Light beer, high noon. Folks like Hy-Vee joins us, Echo Water Systems, Twain Barbecue and Tap Room. So here's what you do. You can go to places in Columbia. You can go to G&D Pizzeria in Jefferson City, you can go to Lutz's Barbecue, and in places like Mexico, Missouri, you can go to Graff & Sons and then join us Saturday. So here's the deal. It's an 11 o'clock kickoff against 15th ranked K-State.
15th ranked K-State and 11:01 to be exact on Saturday morning.
Sellout, we understand.
Which is amazing. I don't know how they calculate that. And then when they say 11:01, it's probably going to be 11:03. It never starts on time. They never start on time. But 11:01 technically.
Speaking of
darn zebras.
Speaking of sellouts, you see Mitt Romney's not going to run for re-election.
I saw that he wants a new generation of people to come to come forward. A lot of our listeners are not big fans of his.
Yeah, well, that'll be one less Democrat in the Senate. Welcome into the show.
Did he consult with Dick Morris before he made that decision?
So we got an interesting, and we love it when you text us. And just so you know, when you do text 874-9390, that is in the 573 area code. And it's cool because we have folks from all across Mid-Missouri. We got a text this morning, people listening in Dallas on the app. Download the new apps. What's your favorite thing about the new apps, Hannah?
I like that all of the station podcasts are all in one place, and you can play them directly off of the app.
Same. If I'm traveling, I can catch up on our show, but I can also catch up on like Fred Perry's show.
Do they get Wake Up Mid-Missouri in Zurich?
They do.
Really? Do they get it in Italy?
Anywhere. Worldwide.
How about that?
It's pretty awesome.
By the way, we welcome
Brandon just figured out how the internet works.
Wow. Thanks to Al Gore.
Thanks, Al. Appreciate that one. We love it when you text us, 573-874-9390. We do always try to respond. It doesn't happen all the time, whether we respond personally or on air. If we don't respond, it's just because we're busy trying to figure out if the Mizzou game is going to start at 11:01 on Saturday or 11:03.
Exactly. By the way, huge game, number 15, Kansas State. And, yeah, I agree. Sellout crowd. I mean, the crowd will be great. There will be some purple in the stands, not a lot. But the Mizzou's got their hands their hands are going to be full because K-State's got Will Howard, one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Their hands were full against Middle Tennessee State. They could not stop these guys on third down.
That's just it. And then that team only gives up 38 yards rushing, Brandon. K-State a game, which is amazing. Best in the country, by the way. One other call for you and other listeners I'm going to make today about the game, and I haven't forgotten about it. I am going to check with Public Works because on their website, they have said shuttles will start at the end of the third quarter. I need to, because there is a disconnect apparently between the office in Public Works and in the drivers. Because clearly,
Here's another
you
thing
were right
you
in the middle
missed,
of that.
Brandon got his you-know-what in a wad, and he had to go complain.
But it wasn't just Brandon. There were others who complained. There were others because it was on their website.
Over the shuttles?
Yeah, so the shuttles.
They said they start at the end of the third quarter.
At the end of the third quarter. So I got people from out of town. So you got the shuttles. It's really cool, and they'll pick you up right across the street from the stadium, and they'll take you right back to Flatbread.
Are these free shuttles?
Yes.
No, the taxpayers are paying for them.
Did I tell you how when I was in Europe that they had a train issue and I had a ticket?
Yes, obviously it's more important than the story I'm about to tell.
Yeah. It wasn't a free shuttle, and they decided we're just going to run the train an hour earlier and not tell anybody. Is it that bad? Because this sounds like you had a similar snafu.
So you go to the GoComo website. And by the way, and I did call the city to find out what was going on, and I called them not as part of Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I even called them from my cell phone to make sure, like, I'm not calling from an office phone. I'm like, hey, what happened? People from out of town. And it wasn't just me, by the way. There's a lot of upset
They still knew it was you.
Yeah, they still knew. The guy said after he called, they had to get somebody to call me back, find out what happened. I said, here's what happened. I showed the bus drivers the website. They got 8 buses. It says at the end of the third quarter.
Absolutely.
It's the end of the third quarter. And the guy said, nope, fourth quarter. So the guy, he called back from the city, which I was appreciative of. And we talked. I'm like, I just want to know what's going on. And because I admire the work that you do so much in the city of Columbia, I want to make sure that you don't get other people, complaining. Because I'm not complaining. I just want clarification. Your website says this. The bus driver said this. And the guy said, yeah, I'm going to check that out. We're meeting today. We're going to figure it out. And then he says, by the way, I know who you are.
That makes you feel good.
So wait, you just had to wait then? Or did they eventually come?
We started to walk. And then,
oh my goodness,
we evolved on that idea.
You call an Uber?
It's too far.
Did an Uber.
It's too far to walk.
So is it at the end of the third quarter?
It's what they're saying at the end of the third quarter. I'm going to check with John Ogan, who I know listens to the show, and he may be probably be hearing this right now, but I'll check with him. But that is the plan. But that I want to make sure that plan is communicated to the drivers, because the biggest thing, Brandon, you saw my story, I always attribute. Public Works says the shuttles.
You had it absolutely right.
And I linked to the page, but I'm the one on the air saying it, but I always attribute. But I know that you weren't the only one frustrated.
No, there's a lot of folks there. So hopefully I'm doing PR work for the city of Columbia. Rick text listening from Omaha. We appreciate you listening to Oklahoma or Nebraska this morning.
Omaha.
Omaha, Oklahoma.
Speaking of texting.
Right. Tim says Claire is an asterisk. And then we got this really interesting text. I think it was like Monday or Tuesday morning.
Yeah, we got a text from a member of the Wake Up family, and they were forwarding us a text that they had received on accident. They said, hey, I think this was meant to go to the radio station. And we were like, thanks for sending it to us. And this person goes, my phone number is 1 digit different than your guys' call and text number. So this happens a lot.
She said, she had never texted the radio station before. Finally, I guess she got tired of getting texts and all this stuff. So she was kind enough to forward a text saying, I think this was meant for you guys. We're like, thank you. She says, incidentally, the numbers are close. And she says, I get people calling for Wake Up Mid-Missouri all the time.
It's hilarious.
And so we got to chat, and so now we know her. Now she's a member of the Wake Up Mid-Missouri family, which I think is...
Well, it cracks me up. You know, our station frequencies are similar to some of our sister stations. And sometimes when they're giving away maybe concert tickets or something really cool, every once in a while I get a phone call from someone trying to win tickets that we're not giving away. And I always feel really bad. They get all bummed out.
Here's how you handle that next time somebody calls. Am I the right call?
You
said,
won.
you sure are. What's your name? I'll get your info and see how that goes. All right, coming up. I'm excited. Stephanie Bell is back here with Wake Up Mid-Missouri. She's going to be doing the Morning Bell business news with a little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
Remember when Hannah told us about, I think it was the National Park Service had to put out an announcement and tell people, stop licking toads for your own health?
Yep.
Now we're getting another notice from the government to stop ingesting this.
All right, what is it they want you to quit putting into your body? Quit licking toads.
This could be anything.
What's number 2? Time for the Morning Bell business news with a little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
The futures are also glad I'm back. They are all up more than 0.5% in the green. So looking good as the market prepares to open. All right. So a while ago, the National Park Service had to issue a notice saying, hey, don't lick those toads. It's bad for your health. Usually the FDA is telling us, or they're supposedly telling us what's good for our health. And a long time ago, they approved this drug. And since in the last several years, they've been asked to relook at it. Well, a committee has now come out officially, an advisory panel of the FDA, and says, you know, that, let's see if I can get the name right, phenylephrine, oral phenylephrine, it actually doesn't do that much. Now, if you're unfamiliar, you've probably had it. This stuff can cause some serious side effects. So phenylephrine can cause upset stomach, trouble sleeping, dizziness, lightheadedness, headache, nervousness, shaking, or fast heartbeat. And you have had this stuff because it is in things like Sudafed, Mucinex, Vicks, Allegra, Dayquil. And so, you know, when you get a cold and you go and you just like start eating cold medicine, we all do that, right? Yep. And you're like, I still feel really crummy.
And now I'm just really amped up.
I was going to say,
I'm high and feeling and congested because that's the part that doesn't work is the decongestant apparently.
Yeah, Branden especially, it really affects you, doesn't it?
My heart and blood pressure, I can't do that stuff, but I have to sometimes. I'm like, man, I'm coughing, whatever it is, and so I got this problem, so I'm going to take this pill and try to fix. And now I got two problems. Not only do I have a bad cold and a cough, but now I'm really high. I can't do anything.
So yeah, that's huge. Breaking. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess I always thought like, oh, this is something that we all just agreed that this is like the cold medicine. And apparently the researchers have said, yeah, that stuff is no better than just a placebo, just nothing.
It's kind of, and I don't know if this is comparable, but I like when they get a UTI, oh, drink cranberry juice, drink cranberry juice. There are some components apparently, allegedly, in cranberry juice that can help.
Yeah, the vodka.
But you would have to drink it in such great amounts that it's basically it's ineffective. Kind of weird when you've come to believe something for your entire life. Hey, this cold medicine works.
And I think now, so this is just from the advisory panel. So I think now basically the FDA is going to reconsider its stance on phenylephrine, but it's not the final word, but definitely some breaking news from this advisory panel yesterday. And so I know I've gone to the doctor before and they're kind of like, it's a cold, wait it out. And like, you're always just like, I'm not going to wait it out. Like, and then I soup myself up on Dayquil and NyQuil.
Chicken noodle soup, that'll make you feel better.
Well, they tell you to go get a neti pot.
I have a neti pot. Those things work. Now, I will say, I think this is specific to oral phenylephrine, and there is, I think, nasal spray with this drug in it, and I think they did say that actually does help because it like gets into your nasal cavities more quickly, and so it's more specific to just the pills.
If you were to go into one of my drawers, if you were to get in my drawers, you'll see I've got the tea.
I would not recommend rummaging around in his drawers.
Yeah, talk to the last person that did that.
He married her.
But you'll find I got this tea called throat coat tea, which is remarkable. Remarkable. So like when Steph and I come in and we do this, and John, he didn't do it this morning. And you do sound different this morning, John. You sick or what did you do?
No, screaming at the soccer match.
All right, makes sense. But we have the tea, and then I have the little spray bottle that you spray right, and that stuff is boom.
Yeah, I think it's better.
It works. Who is this singing?
Even though we ain't got money,
It's a Messina song, a song called Danny's Song. Yeah, my guess would be Morgan Waller. Steph, who would you guess?
That is not Morgan Wallen.
Morgan who?
Morgan Waller? Wallen?
Oh, my gosh.
Wallet?
There's so many great new younger country artists like on TikTok and other things that I would suggest it's one of those people. I mean, they're all out there singing covers.
I got to wondering the other day, whatever happened to George Strait? Like, he was the great, especially, 80s and 90s when I was working country music before I started working top 40 music. It was Alan Jackson and George Strait. And back in our day, the older people were complaining, well, these people like Alan Jackson, Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, they just ain't country anymore. They just don't listen to this. It's just not country. Hannah, any guesses as to who this is?
I'm going to guess it's someone not in the music industry, but I can't get any more specific than that.
And it's somebody we all know.
Really?
Marsh?
Is it John Marsh?
Nope, it's in sync.
By the way, in What's Hot with Hannah earlier this morning, we featured a story about NSYNC, I guess, is making a comeback or something.
Yeah, they're releasing their first song in over 20 years for the movie Trolls.
The clapping you hear, by the way, is coming from our news director, Brian Houseworth. He's the one that's clapping. That was Stephanie clapping.
I remember the name for sure, but not. I don't
Sing
remember
a little
much
bye for us.
I am
Ryan.
so excited.
Yeah, John, I don't think I'd be able to do that. Am I thinking of the Wahlbergs, or am I thinking, is that the right group, or is that somebody else?
This is Justin Timberlake and the crew.
Different group.
I do have a clip from that new song. You said it's going to be in the movie Trolls or something, Hannah?
Yeah, there's another movie in the Trolls franchise coming out about boy bands, and it's featuring one of their songs.
I don't mind if the world's
It sounds like NSYNC 1998.
Sound more like New Kids on the Block in deference to Brian and the Wahlbergs. So.
All right. Brian, I want to play this for you again.
Sure.
See if you have any idea who this is.
Oh, this is
that's singing. It's not NSYNC.
Okay.
And it's somebody we all know, and Hannah's correct. It's not anybody that's in the realm of country music.
Even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love with you, honey. Everything will bring a change in love.
By the way, a very sweet song.
It is a great song, but I don't recognize the voice.
I figured it out.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Who you got?
Mr. 199.
Adam Wainwright, pitcher for the St. Louis
Waino?
Cardinals. Yeah. So I recall that he sang the national anthem, I think, at the opening game.
He did. St. Louis, that was March 31st, but he did, and got a lot of praise for that.
And he actually did. I thought he did a really good job.
And the home of the
He did great.
And good breaking ball, too.
Well, he does. And I remember Chip Carey on that broadcast on TV, if he's correct, said the players on neither team was Toronto Blue Jays, who were the team that were out on the field with the Cardinals that day, and none of the players, none of the umpires knew apparently he was going to sing. So it was a surprise. He did a great job. So that was him singing the country song?
So,
too?
yeah, that's him. And I bring this up. So closing weekend at Busch, I think it's going to be like September 30th or something like that. The final season, final weekend of the season. Cardinals at home, and hopefully Wainwright will get to 200. But he's doing a concert after Saturday night's game.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So you have all these. Well, you have some people at Busch Stadium, and then when the game is over, he's going to get out with a guitar, I guess, in a bar. I don't know if they're going to do a stage, but it's kind of cool. He's like doing a little concert following the ball game,
which is great. Which is really great. He's also adopted some kids. And it's been a tough year for him. He actually had to delete his Twitter account for a little bit. I don't know if people realize that, but some of the I think he's back on, but some people just get nasty. It's just it's baseball. It's not but people get really upset, and I think he probably my understanding of looking at the articles, he actually read all the tweets, and some of them were quite frankly nasty about. I think they were about baseball.
And he's been open about his mental health struggles, hasn't he? Or am I thinking of someone else?
I'm not aware of that. It's very possible. I'm not aware of that, but I do know. I don't know if they were critical of the adoption issue. Don't believe it's that, but it was about his performance on the field.
Yeah, don't go when you tweet and people are don't read the tweets. Matter of fact, if you want to see, speaking of the Trolls movie, if you want to see a good troll, you can go and watch our show on YouTube at Wake Up Mid Missouri on the Facebook page. We're getting trolled by somebody this morning. If you want to see some more trolls. Oh. All right, what else is going on? Stephanie's back. We're glad to have you back.
Good to have you back.
I'm really glad to be back.
Poll numbers. And I want to bring these up again because this is, I think, significant. We have seen now, it seems like for a couple of weeks, we have seen consistent poll numbers that are now showing that Trump has a good chance of beating Biden. This is a USA Today Suffolk poll. And what's remarkable about this, one of the big takeaways, only 34% of Americans said they approve of Biden's handling of the economy. The majority, 47%, say that Trump would do a better job. And Biden, by the way, he's coming out today. He's going to do a big speech on
Bidenomics. He's going to try to contrast Bidenomics with Maganomics.
That should be pretty easy.
Yeah, no kidding. $3.89 a gallon, Mr. President.
76% of independents. When I always think the independent voting bloc, that's important. Dems have their voters, Republicans have their voters, very little wiggle room. It's the independents that you have to sway. 34% of Democrats. And see, that's the thing. Only 34% of Democrats. And I'll go back to a lot of times Republicans won't take part in poll questions. They won't answer honestly. These 34% of Democrats, they have to be lying. There's not in this country, there is not even a third of the country. Even if you're a Democrat and you have allegiance to whether your team is the St. Louis Cardinals or your team are Democrats, there cannot be, unless we're talking about all the rich people, there cannot be 34% of the people in this country that think the economy's good.
I don't know. You bring up a very interesting point, Brandon, but if you look at Twitter, and Stephanie very many times has said Twitter is not real, but if you look at Twitter, whenever a Republican politician, state lawmaker specifically, you were talking about trolls, whenever they tweet anything, they just get hammered by, usually the same 15 to 20 people on Twitter. Jess Piper's one of them. She tweets at almost all of them.
Jess Piper is somebody who's
like a professional tweeter.
Yeah, she's never even held elected office. Northwest Missouri.
She ran, but she lost really badly.
She got 25% of the vote in that, a very red district. But she's one. She really calls out Republicans, but there are others as well. But on Twitter, if you didn't know any better, looking at Mo Ledge Twitter, you would swear that we have a Democratic supermajority in the House and not a Republican, because it's between Piper and Laura Burkhart, some of the other, there are quite a few, and they're very, very outspoken, and they have their various issues, but they do. It's not just them; there are many others on there. I'd say it's probably 80-20 on a lot of those Mo Ledge tweets are siding with the Democrats.
Because our people are on the farm tending to their cattle or their chickens. They're working all day. They're not sitting in front of a computer. We've got hardworking Republicans in our state house that have to work all day instead of sit on Twitter. So anyway, that's
also in this USA Today poll, 84% of Americans say their cost of living is rising. 84%. Food and groceries is the top concern. We've even got some local insight.
We do. Our friends over at ABC 17 have a question of the day up. Is inflation still draining your finances? Now, we know we got some reports on Tuesday about how inflation was up in August for the second straight month. 79% of folks right here in mid-Missouri are saying, yes, inflation is still draining my finances.
So that's the latest. If you were to get on to abc17.com, and they're asking folks that live here where we live, Jefferson City, Fulton, Columbia, California, Centralia, Mexico, Moberly, the polling right now, a refresh, 91% of mid-Missourians are saying yes. They're not just saying inflation sucks. They're saying inflation is draining finances.
That's pretty significant. You look at the presidential race in 2020, and you look at the map. In Boone County, did go for President Biden. He won that race and carried Boone County. I know he carried St. Louis City and carried St. Louis County and he carried Jackson, but it was, and he maybe carried a couple more, but it was outside of Boone County. All the other counties around Boone County did vote for President Trump in that race, but he still he still remains popular, I would say, probably I would assume, based on those election numbers, in the city of Columbia.
Coming up, we're going to be doing some leftovers. We still have some interesting stories to get into leftovers, drought, and fall colors, what's going to happen with fall this year. And we're going to be chatting with the folks from Welcome Home. Big annual picnic coming up on Monday. Would love for you to be a part of it. We'll do that coming up just a few minutes from now.
Even though
And look what we found. Michelle Vogt from Welcome Home. Welcome Home here in mid-Missouri does incredible work for veterans, homeless veterans. They do some really neat things. Michelle joining us here on the show now. And you guys have a big event coming up. What's going on?
We have our 6th annual Rockridge Lions Club charity picnic benefiting Welcome Home coming up on Monday, September 18th. It'll be over at the Farmers Market Pavilion from 5 to 8 over there by the Arc in Columbia.
And this is a good time. I mean, the food is incredible. The Rockridge Lions Club with these guys do every year is just phenomenal. But we do some other things. There's more than just food and stuff.
Yes, we're going to have some great entertainment. We have got the Norm Ringling Band coming. They'll be playing some awesome tunes. We're going to have a little program talking about all of our amazing outcomes we've done in this past year, helping the at-risk veterans in our area and their families. It's going to be a great time, delicious barbecue meal. We've got frozen custard cookie sandwiches coming from Freddy's. You'll get 2 delicious drink tickets from Logboat or wine if you choose.
Yeah, weather is looking good. What's the folks want to get some tickets, best thing for them to do?
They can reach out to me at Welcome Home, or they can go to welcomeveterans.org, and there's an events tab there. They can also go to our socials, Facebook, Instagram. There'll be posts there as well throughout the week. And again, reach out to me at Welcome Home if you have any questions or interested in getting involved.
We go to this picnic Monday the 18th. 1 or 2 biggest things some of that money will be going for, Michelle?
Well, that goes to our really 100% of the proceeds from this event go directly to our programs and services. So that helps service over 350 veterans and their families per year by providing them with shelter, helping them with resources, wraparound resources that they need and help with. We've got a Vets Work program that helps elevate these veterans, giving them the training and certifications and stuff that they need to get those jobs out there that can pay them more, give them the stability that they need. There are just lots of great things that we're doing over at Welcome Home to help elevate these guys and gals. They're very deserving of it.
All right, and it's a good time every year. The food is incredible. Welcome Home picnic coming up Monday. It's a great time. Also in leftovers today, Sheridan County Sheriff apparently under criminal investigation. We saw with another sheriff recently under a criminal investigation, another local police chief who is, I guess, on paid leave in Ashland. And I'm wondering what's going on with these people in law enforcement. But the bigger thing I think about is one of the things that went in to law. It regards first responders saying, hey, you'd be eligible for PTSD benefits, I think under workman's comp or something. And I don't know. I'm just wondering if there's something to that. What you got for leftover, Steph?
Some interesting things happening in the world of Apple. Apple's switching its Lightning charger thing, so it's going to go to the USB-C. So you've got it for your iPad Pro. I think your Android uses a USB-C. My laptop does. So I think the fewer chargers I can carry around, the better. And right now I've got a whole bunch of them. The other thing that I saw in the business news, you've heard of surge pricing, right?
Yeah.
So I guess some bars in the UK are doing surge pricing and then like we've always kind of had an opposite of this, like the early bird special or like a happy hour, they would give you a discount. So then you did pay a higher price in the busier times, but they apparently announced it and said, yeah, during our busy times, we're going to start charging you a little bit more for your drinks, and people are not happy. And they're like, we've been doing this already. We're just kind of being more transparent about it. I don't hate that. I mean, you know, I would rather just upfront know, hey, I can go on like a Tuesday night at, 4 and get a discount, pay less. And I suspect if I go Friday at 7, I might pay more.
I go to Buffalo Wild Wings, who's helping us with our Tiger Tailgates. I think on Tuesdays they do something like where you buy one, you get one free or half off.
Or I can go to the free Tiger Tailgate.
Or I go to the free Tiger Tailgate. Info on our websites, 939theeagle.com and KWOS.com. Free food from Buffalo Wild Wings. Bud Light, High Noon is there. Also, Hy-Vee Echo Water Systems, Twain Barbecue and Tap Room. You can go to places like 315 Primo Cannabis in Columbia. You can go to Big O Tires in Jefferson City and Club Car Wash in Boonville. Marsh, what you got for leftovers?
Well, given another chance, Chiefs Chris Jones said he would have changed the way he approached his holdout with the Chiefs when the tackle sat out training camp and preseason and the season opening loss to Detroit. Probably now that he's still facing millions of dollars in fines for not reporting. But the up news is Andy Reid says he will play in some capacity at Jacksonville Sunday.
And then how about Taylor Swift's boyfriend? What do we know about him? And
TK is probable. Travis Kelce probable for Sunday's game.
Probable. And are they dating?
There's rumors, but nothing has been confirmed.
Would those not be like the most beautiful and talented children that ever walked the planet?
Right?
Right.
Why do we love fall? I think because it's like nap time almost.
Because pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
Because of
that's
the
just you.
colors and the weather.
The weather, exactly. So drought could affect colors this fall. Could probably still see some colors, but the dry conditions we saw this summer could cause trees to lose their leaves early or begin change. I don't know when it is. It's a crapshoot to anybody. Nobody goes, well, October the 14th, that's the day. But typically a couple of weeks into October.
I think you're going to be really excited about this update, though. We've had some fun with Vice President Harris. She's going on tour. She's going to kick off the Fight for Our Freedoms 12 campus college tour. The show for the next month, guys, is going to be lit. She's going to... I can't imagine her on tour and all of the fun stuff she's going to say. But what freedoms is she fighting for exactly?
Exactly. Wait, a progressive? The people who you want me to buy an electric vehicle, you want to force me to wear a mask, and you are talking about freedoms, the same people, which Josh Hawley, man, earlier this week, he's definitely going to be one of our winners of the week tomorrow morning at 8:35 for his polite dismantling of that professor. When he asked about all these scenarios, if the government came in and did this, is that violating freedom? Is this and that? And she said, well, only a judge could decide that. And Josh Hawley said, I'm glad you said that because several judges have said that as it relates to Missouri versus Biden. My goodness.
So she starts today. So tomorrow, I can't wait to see what geography lesson we're getting today from her.